Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Cortalinhas podcast. I'm your host, Zach Lowy, here today with a very special episode. Last week, we had our first Cortalinhas podcast after a 2-month hiatus. Had a great show with Benfica fan Cristiano Oliveira and Sporting fan Sam Fonseca. Today, we've got somebody who knows just about everything there is to know about Portuguese football, one of the most iconic voices of Portuguese football. We've got GolTV announcer Nino Torres, who joins us here today from Lima, Peru. How are you doing today, Nino?
I'm great, Zach. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be on the show, and I'm ready to roll with all you want to ask me, man. Anything you want to ask me, I'm here for you, man.
Absolutely. So Nino has done a fantastic job covering Portuguese football, both on his Twitter as well as on GolTV. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch your analysis. And one of the reasons why I had you on this week is because this is actually a very special week for Portuguese football. We have reached the halfway point in the Primeira Liga season, as well as the second division, of course. So just a brief rundown of the second tier. Moreirense currently leading the top of the table with 40 points. Farense trailing them with 34. Then in the relegation zone, we've got another recently relegated side, B-side, in the relegation playoff spot with Trofense and Covilha. Will be interesting to see what happens in the second tier, but right now we're here to talk about the Primeira Liga, okay? And it's been a really jam-packed first half of the season so far, so we've got a lot to discuss. Real quick, though, I want to get into a question from one of our followers, Anthony Meneses, who asks, Nino, do you have a favorite player to watch this season outside the big three, Benfica, Porto, and Sporting, as well as Braga, as well as thoughts on whether GolTV would ever extend their Liga coverage in the future, airing some of the smaller matches?
Well, let's start for the second question, right? Because we do cover. We have, of course, the big three games every weekend, but we also have plenty of other games. We got Portimonense games, we got Casapia games, all the Gil Vicente's games, and not all of them, but we try to mix it up with the big three. And yes, we do have. I think I have a decent coverage for pretty much all the teams in the Primeira Liga. For the first question, I answered actually yesterday on Twitter, and I was so happy because I got the game Casapia Gil Vicente, and I got the two players that I'm outside the big three, outside of the top names. But I think Frank Navarro is a top name, not only for Gil Vicente, but for the league too. And the other one is Xavier Godwin from Casapia, outstanding winger. I love him. These are the two players that I love outside of the big three, the big four.
Xavier Godwin and Fran Navarro. Wow. Yeah. Let me just say, this is my first season having GolTV, and it's made a really big difference. Would I like them to air more matches of the smaller teams? Yes, but you guys are doing a good job of that as well. Hopefully, we can see more GolTV Portuguese football in the future. But yeah, another question from Zachary Bone. Everybody who's listened to your commentary, they know that you love to have your nicknames: Tony Martinez, Tony Soprano, Peter Musa, Peter Parker. What is your favorite nickname that you've created for a player?
I think I like a lot the one for Pepe, which is the Portuguese Terminator. And I think that's pretty cool. I think sometimes it just came out. Everything came out naturally. I don't plan anything, but after all these seasons, when watching Pepe, he's a Terminator. If you wanna come close to the area, he's gonna protect him like that.
100%. So let's delve into the football, and yeah, the Primeira Liga. We have reached the halfway point. Benfica are 4 points clear atop the Primeira Liga table with 44 points, followed by Braga, who sit 1 point clear of third place Porto, and Porto find themselves 7 points above Sporting. Sporting are 5 points above Casapia, and Casapia, 5th place, are 1 point above Arauca. So I know a lot of people wondering, oh, which team are they going to discuss first? Is it going to be Porto, Sporting, Benfica? I actually want to discuss one of the breakout stars, in my opinion, one of the breakout teams of this entire Primera Liga season. And I know that Casapia is probably the number one shout for breakout team thus far in the first 17 weeks, but I want to talk a little bit about this Arauca side, okay? Because Arauca, they returned to the Primera in 2021. I believe they had two straight promotions maybe two promotions in 3 years under Armando Evangelista, pretty much going from the depths of Portuguese football to the top flight, and narrowly survived relegation on the second to last match day of the season. So just barely scraped it out with the scruff of their neck. And this season, I'll be honest, I wasn't too sure how they were going to fare, because I know they sold Andre Silva to Vitoria de Guimarães, and I was a bit concerned, are they going to have a poor sophomore year in the top flight? But they have done absolutely fantastic. Currently 6th in the Primera Liga, and they recently lost 2-1 to Sporting yesterday in the Taça da Liga semifinals. So very good cup run. Unfortunately, that has come to an end. But Armando Evangelista is doing a fantastic job with this Arauca side. A lot of players who I could mention, such as their African midfielders, Morlai Sila from Guinea, as well as Ismaila Soro, the Ivorian ex-Celtic man. But an impressive front line as well. Alan Ruiz chipping in, as well as Antoni Alves, Arsenio Nunes. One player who's been in fantastic form is Palestinian striker Odai Dabat. Hasn't always been the first choice center forward for Arauca this season. Rafa Mujica, the Spanish striker, doing fairly well this season, and has actually kept Odai on the bench for quite a few games. But yeah, he's made an impact, whether it's coming off the bench or starting. And Odai Dabat, Palestinian striker, recently turned 24, has 5 goals since the start of 2023. So got a brace against Estoril on January 7th, and followed that up with a brace in a 4-0 win against Portimonense, as well as grabbed a goal against Sporting in the cup defeat. So Arauca, there's a lot to talk about from this Arauca side. For you, though, what have been the biggest keys to their success this season under Armando Evangelista?
I think the keys in the spinal cord of this formation, which is Sila and Soro, they're fantastic. This is the core of the stalker for Arauca this season, and Ruiz has been fantastic. But I think they get pretty strong in the middle of the park. And these two players, they provide an immense balance for a team that struggled in last season. They barely survived, and now they're at the top half of the table. Which is everybody's talking. Yeah, you're saying everybody's talking about Casapia. We just kind of overlook Arauca, and there's one player that you haven't mentioned yet. It is Nacho Darboa-Barrena, the goalie for Arauca, that unluckily for him, he got to start versus Benfica, and there's a few games that they conceded more than 4 goals, 4 or more goals, but I think it's unfair to get all the guilt for Darboa-Barrena for those losses for Arauca. But I think for him to get to face the Benfica in the first rounds, and then going against different rivals, I think that giving the confidence. And there's one thing about Uruguayans, is that their mentality are so strong, and these are so mature players. And Nacho, I have no doubt that he's gonna shine for Arauca in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think that Arauca, they did an interesting job in their transfer window because they sold, I believe, their top scorer, Andre Silva, to Vitoria, got rid of a few other players who were important in their first season, such as Thales, Abdoulaye Ba, Victor Braga, but I think they upgraded it in a lot of key positions, and that's why. And I think that the recent transfer that they've made, selling a very important right winger Andre Bukia to the Saudi team Al Batin, that has actually opened the door for other players, including Benji Michel, the American winger who just joined from Orlando City on a free transfer, and making a decent start to life in Portugal for Arauca. Won a penalty on his debut against Chaves, and once again came off the bench and scored his first ever goal against Portimonense. So as they say, when one door closes, another door opens. And yeah, this Arauca team, I really like it. I hope that they can keep building something special. I think that all of our attention has been pretty much on the big three, Braga and Casapia. We've totally, I don't want to say totally, but we haven't given Arauca the attention they've deserved. Exactly. And you mentioned Ignacio de Araúa Buena. Is that correct?
It's even hard for me, man. See, for me, it's even hard. It's a tough one. Many odds in there, huh?
Ignacio de Arrua Barrena. Okay.
Yes, there you go.
Potential candidate for the starting goalkeeper spot for Uruguay.
There's a few more names ahead of him right now, but he's definitely I would consider. I think he's a top 5 among Uruguayan goalies. Yes, for sure.
Absolutely, but like I said, a very interesting. I think it's with regards to Portuguese teams, it's a bit like a game of Jenga. You've got to know how many pieces to take out, but you've also got to keep the key building blocks in there to keep that spine. And I think they've done a good job, keeping key players such as the captain, João Basso. How important has he been in the heart of defense? For me, one of the most underrated center backs in the Primera. Jerome Opoku, the English center back joining from Fulham, didn't play against Portimonense, but I felt he's done fairly well. Yeah, and a lot of other very interesting signings. And I think that, you look at this Arauca team, it's very international. And that's one thing that I love about the Primeira Liga. It's becoming increasingly international, right? We've got plenty of Portuguese and Brazilian players as usual, but you've also got this Uruguayan goalkeeper that I can't pronounce for the life of me. You've got
that's easier.
Nino Galovic, a Croatian defender. As I mentioned, the African double pivot, and some other interesting talents. You got the Palestinian striker Odai Dabag, Alan Ruiz, Argentine, and yeah, you mentioned Morlai Sila. I really do. I am very intrigued by him because 24 years old, and I believe he came from an African side. I think Horoya in Guinea. These are his first few months in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, talk to me a little bit about Morlai. Do you feel like he could be the next Arauca player to get a big move after Andre Silva and Andre Bukia?
For sure. I have no doubts that's what's going to happen. We'll see what happens in the second half of the season. Hopefully he stays consistent. And if he remains like that, I think he's the next transfer, next big transfer for Arauca, without a doubt. Yes, sir.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens. Arauca, following that win against Portimonense, up with a 2-1 defeat in the Taça da Liga semifinals to Sporting. So interesting start to the year for Sporting. Began 2023 with a defeat at Marítimo. Followed that up with a 2-2 draw against Benfica. And then, after the Arauca-Portimonense game ended Friday's action with a match against Vizela, and this was very close. If I must say, it was too close for comfort from Sporting side, because we saw Pedro Porro setting up Pedro Gonçalves for the opening goal at the hour mark. Then Alex Mendez, the Mexican-American midfielder, coming off the bench and scoring an equalizer, a very good header within just a few minutes, tying things up in the 75th minute. Looked like Vizela were going to come away with the point, and yet Paulinho wins a penalty, and Pedro Porro converts the go-ahead goal in the 95th minute. So Sporting just barely surviving with 3 points. With that being said, they are still 7 points behind third-place Porto. And I do think that, slowly but surely, Champions League football could be slipping away from them. And, their next match is against Braga. We'll talk about that soon. I do think that there's a good chance that the Taça da Liga could be their only opportunity for silverware this season. We'll see what happens. They are through to the final, where they will play either Porto or lower tier Académico Viseu. So we shall see what happens. But Nino, talk to me about your thoughts about this Sporting team, because it feels like we've gone from Sporting duking it out with Porto for the past 2 years, and it really was a two-horse race for the title in both occasions. To Sporting, I think that most Sporting fans believe that their team isn't in a title race. I remember I was on your Instagram live right before Porto Sporting. We were discussing this with two other Porto fans, and I think I said, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I said that there would be, a two-horse race or a three-horse race. I didn't expect Sporting to be in that race, and unfortunately, my prediction has come true. Most of them don't, but I gotta say, it's an interesting one for me, because I think that on the one hand, Ruben Amorim, he isn't blameless at all. There are a lot of a lot of these matches we are seeing his stubbornness and failure to abandon Plan A and opt for a Plan B. How that has kind of negatively affected Sporting. With that being said, though, Sporting, having sold their two starting midfielders and having really failed to bring in some top recruitments apart from Hidemasa Morita, how much is this going to affect Amorim's legacy at Sporting this terrible season? I'm not so sure. I think that's a valid question, but I also think that you have to look at it from multiple angles. And the fact is, I don't think that, from what we've seen in the transfer window, I don't know how much Sporting fans can expect.
Got a quick question before I answer this to you. When is the transfer window closes?
January 31st.
31st. All right. So,
well, 6 days. Or I believe at the end of January 31st is when. So they have.
Right. Right. So there's still I still have hopes, right, for Sporting to sign for Navarro. I don't know if it's gonna happen or not. I don't know if there's an actual negotiation, but that's the number 9 that we'll look for Sporting. The reason being is because the lack of fire. No, it's not lack of firepower. The lack of efficiency. It's not firepower, because they got plenty of opportunities created every single 90 minutes. And in this game against Vizela, it was just unforgivable for Paulinho, unforgivable for Trincao to miss those 1v1s. Those are the opportunities that you got to finish. You got to finish those plays. You can concede those advantages to a team that was definitely inferior to Sporting playing at the Alvalade. But this is not the only game, and it's been a pattern. It's been consistent throughout the first half of the season. The lack of efficiency for Sporting in the under top 3, and I have my I feel disappointed a little bit with Marcus Edwards because I predicted that he was going to be the MVP of the season. It hasn't been the case. I think he's not getting any the same playing time that he was getting the first the 2 months of the competition. But let's put Marcus Edwards on the side a little bit and focus on Paulinho. 2 goals. Paulinho has scored 2 goals in the competition, and this is a big problem, and this is part of the stubbornness of Ruben Amorim to keep it on the pitch. If your true line, if your striker is not producing, take him out. Just take him out of the pitch. Give me someone else. But the problem is, do you have an actual true line of a decent caliber on the bench to replace him? And the goals are coming from Nuno. The goals are coming from Pochi again. That is in pace to score double digits again. I think he's gonna replicate his fantastic season when they won the championship. But I think he'd probably be finished with at least 16 goals this season. I have no doubt that that's what's going to happen. But that's the main problem for Sporting. Their front court and the lack of efficiency in the final third. Because everybody's talking about they lost Mateus, but Monita has been one of the if not the most important player for Sporting in the first half of the season. He didn't start well, but then he got used to the team, and he's been instrumental for Sporting in the elaboration, basically. But I want to talk about also the defense of Sporting. This is not the championship defense that they had a couple of years ago. It's not. I mean, there's several imbalances. The coverages are not there. It looks like Coates is I don't know. I think he's no longer the leader of the defense, but he is struggling to basically put everybody in line with him. And in many games, I'm seeing that there's either Mateus holding, is either Gonzalo Inacio holding, and then they're creating so many spaces in the back door of Sporting that led him to lose. It's a 4 of 15. It's 19 points that Sporting just basically gave away. And with 5 losses, you're out. I mean, you are out of this competition. With only the top 2 teams, the most losses that they can concede is 2. There's nothing. If you are above 2 losses, you're out. You're just out of the title race, and Sporting is out. And that's hopefully they get to win the Taça. But the Dragons, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a for sure thing, and I believe that they can. I think they're going to get empty-handed on this season. I don't think they're going to win a single piece of silverware this season.
Yeah, and I think that you made a great point with the defensive stability, because Ruben Amorim's first full season in charge, Sporting obviously went on to win the title, and I think one of the biggest reasons for that was that defensive solidity. You know, when you were, shall we say, as solid defensively as Sporting were in 2020-21, you could keep games close, and even when you were on the losing side, it would still only be 1-0. We saw how many late goals, how many late equalizers that Sporting team had to pull off the point. So I think that you make a great point there. I want to bring up a little stat. In the entirety of Sporting's title-winning season, they conceded 20 goals. The following season, they conceded 23 goals in the league, of course. Right now, they've conceded 19. So just 1 goal away from matching their entire goal conceded tally of 2020-21. You mentioned Paulinho. Yeah, just 2 goals in the league. He did get a brace against Arauca to send Sporting through to the final. So Paulinho fans, I'm not hating on your boy. Okay, I'm giving him the credit he deserves. But you make a great point, because I do think that Fran Navarro would be without a doubt an upgrade on their center forward options. Right now, top scorers in the league, Gonzalo Ramos leading the way with 12 goals. Fran Navarro, a Spanish player who was really the only key figure, shall we say, of that Gil Vicente side, apart from maybe Kanya Fujimoto and a few others who stuck around after that fantastic fifth place finish. Gil Vicente have been fighting relegation for the majority of the season, and yet Fran Navarro currently second in the leaderboard with 11 goals, followed by Meri Taremi, Pedro Gonçalves, Ricardo Horta, and a few others. I think that Fran Navarro would be a fantastic signing for Sporting. I just don't know if they're willing to spend that money, and it goes back to what we were saying. Why are Sporting linked with someone like Ousmane Diomande, a center back from Mafra, who's going to be costing around the same amount as Fran Navarro? Like, with all due respect to Diomande, they need a center forward right now. They need someone who's going to at least give Paulinho some competition, because right now, he can look at his spot in the team and just rest assured that it's not going to change, because the only two options that they have to challenge the starting spot are two teenagers, Yusuf Chermiti and Rodrigo Ribeiro, who are barely playing at all. So it's an interesting one. I think that Sporting, we talked about Ruben Amorim's stubbornness and unwillingness to change from that 3-4-2-1. One of the reasons why, I think, is because of the importance and the trust that he places in his two starting wingbacks. So that's Pedro Porro and Nuno Santos. We've talked a lot about Porro. We'll get to him in a bit, but I want to mention Nuno Santos because I do feel like he's been really one of the more underrated assets of this Sporting team. For me, one of the best players of the Lions this season, one of the few players who's kept their level. And yeah, he's currently joint second top scorer in the league with Marcus Edwards at 5 goals, just behind Pedro Gonçalves with 9. He's gotten 3 assists, and he had a fantastic performance yesterday to lead Sporting to the final of the Taça da Liga. Grabbed the assist for Paulinho's second goal in the 82nd minute. Overall, had himself a field day. 12 key passes, 9 out of 13 crosses completed, 4 out of 4 long balls. I could go on and on, but I think that Nuno, for me, he's one of the more underrated players in the Primera. How important has he been?
It's just ridiculous. His contribution has been just ridiculous to this team. He increases his level, increases his performances with the seasons. I mean, every year he's getting better. He's getting better for Sporting, and there's one of the aspects that he actually improved is his recovery. When he loses the possession up front, how quick he returns to cover his back has been on point for Nuno Santos, because everybody is focused on he got all these attacking options that he creates, all the crosses that he provides. But let's not forget that this is a defensive position too. This is a mixed defense. I mean, this is a mix now. There's not such a thing nowadays that the wingbacks are defenders only, but they have to. It's a 50-50. They are the box to box on the outside lanes of the pitch. They are constantly going up and down on the pitch, and I think Nuno Santos, his defensive skills had increased, and that's he's making of him more a complete wingback than he was before. He was spectacular before, but now he's reliable. He's reliable on the left back position when defending.
Absolutely. Another player I want to mention before we leave our discussion on Sporting is Pedro Porro. I've said it before. For me, he's one of the best players in the Primera. I have no doubt that he's the best right back in Portugal. For me, he's also one of the best right backs in football, and one of the best right backs for me, the best right back that Spain has produced in the past few years. So he really willed them to victory against Vizela, grabbed an assist as well as the decisive penalty. He's got ice in his veins, because I remember back in, I think, October 2021, he scored 2 late penalties in a week to grab 2 victories for Sporting. So he can make those goals from the penalty spot. And overall, he's just such a complete wing back. It seems that he may not be in Lisbon for much longer, which I think would be absolutely detrimental to Sporting's project. There are rumors that Tottenham Hotspur are in talks with Sporting for the signing of Pedro Porro. Personally, I think that Sporting, they should say, if you're not paying 45 million euros, which Tottenham are fully capable of paying, then we're not going to sell. I know that hasn't necessarily been Sporting's MO. Okay, I'm not saying that Sporting are going to do that. I thought that they were going to, hold out for the full release clause with Matheus Nunes. They sold him for less than his release clause, and just a few days before that Porto Sporting match to start the season. So Sporting, it must be very frustrating for their fans because their best attacker last season, Pablo Sarabia, acquired on loan as part of that deadline day sale of Nuno Mendes to Paris Saint-Germain, right? So August 31st, 2021, they loan/sell their best left back Nuno Mendes to Paris Saint-Germain. Get Pablo Sarabia on the way. He does very well for them, and then of course returns to Paris Saint-Germain. Now at Wolves under Julian Lopetegui. We'll see how he does there. In the summer, they sold João Palhinha in July, and I think that a lot of Sporting fans, they were expecting them to keep hold of Matheus Nunes, who was starting alongside Palhinha for the majority of last season. They failed to do so. They sold Matheus just a few days before the end of the transfer window, and now they could be set to sell another key player in Pedro Porro. I don't know about you, Nino, but I feel like Porro would be a bigger blow than losing Palhinha or Matheus Nunes. They've done very well to prepare in the center of the pitch with the signing of Ibrahima Bamba, as well as, of course, the emergence of Manuel Ugarte. But I don't think there's a single right back or right wing back that they could sign that is even in Pedro Porro's realm. I think that he's such a unique, special footballer who, for me, I have no concern whatsoever about his ability to adapt to the Premier League. I think that he's people ask, he's been playing in a back five for so long. Is he going to be capable of making the adjustment? Well, first of all, Tottenham play a back five, right? So he'd be just slotting into the right wing back. I think that he's for sure an immediate upgrade over likes of Jed Spence, Emerson Royale, and Matt Doherty. But I don't know. I recognize the allure of going to London, of going to the Premier League. With that being said, I just wonder, could Porro do better? Could he hold out for a move to, I don't know, another club, be that Barcelona, Real Madrid? Trying to think of what other clubs would be in the market. Tottenham, obviously, they're a big club, but, they haven't won a trophy since, 2008.
Whatever.
So, on the one hand, you're going to get a much-deserved salary hike. You're going to play in the most competitive league in football. On the other hand, you're kind of retiring from winning major trophies, no?
That was mean. That was mean.
Tottenham, I'm not mad at you, okay? I'm mad at Sporting about to lose another one of their best players, okay? I apologize for any Spurs fans who were offended, okay? It's early. I haven't had my morning coffee. But let's talk. You watch this guy every week. How good is he? I mean, am I just exaggerating on the hype, or is he really that good?
I was talking to the guys here at GolTV, and I was saying that when Real Madrid was looking for a right back, I was thinking Pedro Porro, the first name that came up to my mind. First name. No, no, yeah. And somebody said to me, he's not ready for it. Somebody said to me, he's not ready to play for Madrid. I was like, what do you mean? Why? Because it's just to play for Real, which is the biggest club in the world. Don't get me wrong. I think totally agree with that. Nobody, let's just look at the Champions League, all right? They got 14, right? Is it 14, right? 14, right? 14 champions, or is it 13? I think it's 14. Anyway.
They are. I believe they are going for their 15th championship.
They got 14 already. Yes.
Right.
And I totally disagree. I think he could fit anywhere in any elite team in the world. You can put Pedro Porro in, and he's gonna deliver. There's a set of his skills. I'm gonna point out something that is his soccer IQ. It's just so high. He's so high. You rarely seen him make a bad play or take a bad decision or take unnecessary risks. It's rare to see that on Pedro Porro, and that's one of the highest points that I wanna highlight from Porro, and I have no doubt that he's gonna, if he's gone, he's gonna deliver for Spurs for sure. Now I gotta tell you something. I want to make a comparison between Sporting and Peñarol in the Uruguayan top flight division, because Peñarol, when they won the championship a couple of seasons ago, they won it with a fantastic front court, right? Nino Torres and forgot what was the other name. Forgot the other name. But they could not replace. I mean, they sold these three players at the very end of the season, and then the next season they didn't get the replacements for them. I mean, the caliber of the replacements was like, I want to say that two or three steps below the quality of the players that they sold, and that's what's happening now with Sporting. They're gonna get rid of, not get rid of. I'm sorry, rephrase that. They're gonna sell now Porro, which is the most valuable player for Sporting, and not only for his quality, but how important he is for the structure of the team. And now they're gonna be without Palhinha, without Mateus, and without Porro, and you basically making this team, and a special team now, special, but I'm talking about that team, not that special quality, but with special needs that's going to play for the remaining of the season. And I don't know how much input that Ruben Amorim has when it comes to transfer the players, because I mean you cannot stop from a player from, hey, there's an offer from the Premier League, from Tottenham, and they're going to pay 45 million for you. I'm gone. I mean, there's no question about it. But I think they're going to struggle for the next couple of seasons if the front office of Sporting doesn't start to work right now on getting caliber replacements for the players that they sold.
Yeah, I realize that 45 million euros, it isn't cheap for a right back, but I think that Porro is worth every cent. For me, he is Sporting's most important player, at least going forward. I don't think people realize how vital he is, a right wing back, to what Sporting do. I mean, I think that they are really focused on feeding the ball out to the flanks and letting Porro or Nuno Santos, do their thing, cut in, make some crosses, and he's just such a versatile threat. He can make that cross, but he can also combine with teammates. And we saw against Benfica playing a very shrewd pass to open the scoring. So for me, he's a fantastic right back. I have no doubt that this is going to be his last season at Sporting. I just hope that they can get him to remain until the end of the season and then sell him. One last thing before we end this discussion on Sporting. Ruben Amorim signed a contract extension on November 29th until June 2026. But like I said, Nuno Mendes, Pablo Sarabia, João Palhinha, Mateus Nunes, and now potentially Pedro Porro. If they do sell Porro midway through the season with, I think that would be a massive blow to Sporting their season. Obviously, they're no longer in the Champions League; they're fighting it out in Europa. But if they do sell Porro, do you expect Amorim to be back next season?
Yes, because of his stubbornness. only because of that. There's no other reason why I think Ruben Amorim will be back. But there's another impact if they sell Porro. Let's forget about for a second for the Amorim's renewal. They're gonna be out of Europe if they sell Porro. They're gonna be out of Europe if they sell Porro. I'm telling you, Aruca and Casapia are coming after those places, and they're gonna drift away to 6th or 7th in the league if they sell Porro. That's how crucial it is Porro for Sporting. And just when you lose that kind of money, the Europe money, it's gonna be an impact also in the next season, in the next 2 seasons for Sporting.
Absolutely. Teimosia, I believe teimosia is what it's called in Portuguese. Stubbornness. One of my favorite words in Portuguese. Another one of my favorite Portuguese words is Estrelinha. Estrelinha, so technically means little star in Portuguese, but it's something that's used in football a lot to describe a team that just has the intangibles to win. You know, that winning mentality. I think we used it a lot with Sporting's title win a few years back because, you know, a lot of games they were the inferior team. They were getting outplayed, but somehow, some way, they managed to come away with 1 point or 3 points and just keep on chugging on and eventually winning that title. Right now, when I think of the word Estrelinha, there's one team in particular in Portugal that comes to mind, and that is Arthur Jorge's Braga. Braga, I think, may just have the Estrelinha. Estrelinha de Campeão, we shall see. But right now they are 4 points behind Benfica. We're halfway through the season, and they are just 4 points behind them. And unlike Benfica, they are not in the Champions League. Benfica are going to be trying to compete in the Champions League. Braga, they are still in Europe. They're going to be duking it out with Fiorentina in the Europa Conference League. So while they're no longer in the Europa League, they are going to be facing off against Benfica in the Taça de Portugal quarterfinal. So there's a chance for silverware in 3 competitions, and I have no doubt that they are focused on the league more than anything else. Because while they may not win the title, they still have a chance to qualify for the Champions League for the first time in, I think, more than a decade, if I'm not mistaken. And that would be absolutely massive for them financially. It would be massive for them in so many aspects. But yeah, like I said, I think that this Braga team has Estrelinha. They just know how to gut it out and come away with the results. I think we saw a great example of that the previous week. They were, in my opinion, the inferior team against Boavista, and yet coming away with a 1-0 victory. Vitinha pouncing on a poor back pass from Boavista and opening the scoring right after the break to secure a 1-0 win. We've seen plenty of other examples, though. Recently, they took on Vitoria in the Taça de Portugal. They were down 2-0 going into the 80th minute. They end up scoring 3 goals in 5 minutes and beat their crosstown rivals. So that's an example. Of course, we can go to to quite a few examples. The match against Portimonense with Portimonense missing a penalty in the 102nd minute. We can go to their opening day fixture, the 3-3 draw against Braga. We can go to their league match against Vitoria, where they won 1-0 in the league. Let's go to their recent league match, though, at the weekend. Vitinha opening the scoring for Braga. Jordan Holsgrove leveling things up for Passos de Ferreira with a phenomenal goal. And so it seemed like Passos de Ferreira, last place Passos de Ferreira, were going to come away with a point against Braga, and yet who steps up? None other than Simon Banza with a goal in the 98th minute to secure a 2-1 win for Braga. Banza, really interesting story. He came to Famalicão from Len on loan last season, did very well for Famalicão, scored, I think, 16 goals, and got a move to Braga for just, 3 million euros, I believe. Had a fantastic start, and I was getting pretty close to saying he was going to be the signing of the season for in Portuguese football because he actually ended August with 5 goals and 1 assist in his first 4 matches, and yet did not score a single goal, lost his place in the starting lineup, and at the weekend scores his first goal since August 28th to secure a massive 3 points for Braga. Talk to me about this Braga team, Nino. Are they the real deal?
I said something about them 2-3 weeks ago, and I said this is recorded already, so I'm gonna go against my own words, but because I said that they were not a title contenders for one single reason, that they got a crystal jaw. I mean, once you punch them in the face, they cannot react. They don't have reaction. Only, I think it's only 3 games throughout the entire first half of the season that they conceded and they won the game. But basically, they just destroyed people, and but they were not capable of make comebacks, and that changed it. And that changed with this fantastic game that we came from behind from 2-0 and winning the game 3-2, and that's when it changed. I think that's the turning point of the season for Braga, to tell the world and to tell me that I'm wrong, that they can make a comeback on games and adjust their situation when there's not in their favor, because it's easy. I mean, not easier. It's easier to manage when you have a 2-0 lead or 3-0 lead, when you control the possession and you're not conceding many opportunities to the rivals. But when you get hit once, twice, you are in trouble. You're against the wall. You need to find a way out, and that's the situation, the managing situation for the team, that they got so much better since the beginning of the year. And it could happen. It could happen. I don't know if they're gonna strip the Benfica away from their first place, but it's gonna be down to the wire. I don't think this is gonna be decided until the very, very, very last round of the competition.
Passos are going to host Benfica on Thursday without Maracas in the center of defense. That'll be tough for them. We'll see how they can fare against the league leaders. Braga, on the other hand, are going to be having, in my opinion, the biggest match of the weekend, where they will be taking on Sporting at the Estadio José Alvalade on Wednesday. Actually, it was postponed, so yeah, it will be on Wednesday. I'm excited to see what happens in this match. What are your expectations for in this match? Because we saw the first league match for either side ending in a 3-3 draw. Sporting taking the lead 3 separate times and losing it on every single occasion. What do you think? Are we going to see another goal fest this time around?
Yes, but there's going to be a winner this time. There's going to be a winner this time. Yes, I think that they're gonna shock. Braga's gonna shock Sporting at home. It's gonna be 3-2. That's my prediction for that game. It's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be exciting. But in the end, the Estrelinha belongs to Braga, so that's why I think they're gonna pull off a fantastic victory for them at the Alvalade.
You're saying 3-2, okay. Sporting recently defeated Braga 5-0 in the Taça da Liga. I'm gonna say 2-2. Okay.
Right.
Paulinho brace just to shut you up, and I'm gonna go with goals from Ricardo Horta and Abel Ruiz. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. Great way to start off the month of February. But let's go to, I think, for me, the biggest match of the previous weekend. And in my opinion, that was Vitoria de Guimarães taking on Porto. As you can see, I am wearing my Vitoria jersey that I got in Guimarães. Love the black kit. And two of the biggest clubs in Portugal, at least when we're talking about history, when we're talking about fan bases, Vitoria, massive club, recently celebrated their centenary, and it's been a bit of an interesting year for them. Losing their manager Pepa just 9 days before the season started, got eliminated in both cup competitions, got eliminated in the qualifiers of the Europa Conference League. Still just seventh in the league, but I've had quite a few bumps in the road, shall we say. Closed out, went into the international break with a 1-0 win against Marítimo on November 13th. Since then, they haven't won a single game, and they've just lost the last 3 in a row. Losing 1-0 at home to Porto. So, tough one to take for Vitoria. I'm curious what you made of this match, and specifically what you made of the finish, because I thought that if you haven't yet, guys, check out this goal between Porto and Vitoria. João Mario, I know we just spent a few minutes talking about how great Pedro Porro is, but João Mario, I think, may be making a case for himself as the second best right back in the Primeira Liga. He's in sensational form at the moment for Porto. Since the World Cup, he's started the year off on the right foot, got a brace of assists in the Taça de Portugal against Arauca, got an assist in their win against Famalicão, and broke the deadlock right before halftime with a phenomenal goal against Vitoria to secure a 1-0 win. 23 years old, and he's a player who's a converted winger, who's been converted into a fullback position by Sergio Conceição. A bit similar to what we saw from Tecatito Corona for a few years. Talk to me a little bit about João Mario. What have you made of his performances so far at the Dragão?
First off, he's a converted right back, but in the case of Tecatito Corona, he was the most versatile player in the Premier League. He could play in several different positions. It's not the case with João Mario. This is a guy that this is gonna be right next to the line. He's gonna be on the outside channel, and if you move him out of that position, he's gonna struggle. Having said that, I think he is the fastest by a long mile among all the wingbacks, and he's the fastest player in the Porto side, by the way. That speed that he provides, it gives him the edge. And when a player that knows that he's that fast, he tends to overdo things, right? Because he trusts so much on his speed that he's ended up losing possessions in critical situations of matches. But I think other than that, he's been fantastic also for Porto. But yes, I wanna single that out, that he's just incredibly fast, and that's just crucial for the right back position.
Absolutely, Porto getting the job done, and overall they've managed to start the year off on the right foot. Fell to a 0-0 draw at Casa Pia to begin 2023. Since then, they've thrashed Arauca in the cup and won against Vitoria and Famalicão. Going to be taking on Viseu in the Taça Liga semi-finals, as well as they're going to be facing off against the same team, Viseu, in the Taça de Portugal. We'll be taking on Marítimo, Vizela, Marítimo and Vizela before, facing off against Sporting on February 12th. That'll be really interesting. It'll be really interesting to see if Evan Nielsen is back. I know he's missed the past few weeks due to injury, but he was very important in that that striker partnership alongside Mehdi Taremi, and I do think that there have been some games where you've noticed his absence, and I think that this game was one of them. Vitoria are a stubborn side. They held they held Benfica to a 0-0 draw. They nearly came away with a 0-0 draw against Braga. So, they are a tough team to face, especially at home. And I do think that that Evan Nielsen, his off the ball movement, his link up play with Taremi was definitely missed. Taremi, by the way, didn't have a great game by any stretch, but I think we saw Otavio, Wenderson Galeno, Steven Eustáquio, and Mateus Uribe in midfield. Mehdi Taremi and Tony Martinez in the strike pairing. And, Martinez has been a very consistent super sub for Porto. I did not think that he did his chances of winning a starting spot any favors, though. And I'll admit, I did feel that Porto were able to go up another level when he came off in the 59th minute for Pepe. Pepe, 25 years old, Brazilian winger, has played in quite a few positions, played on both the left winger and right winger position, been used even as a fullback, but came off the bench and really made an impact for himself. I'm a bit surprised that a player of his talent, who was really very important for their domestic double last season, that he isn't necessarily a guaranteed starter. I'm trying to think of the last time that Pepe started a match for Porto. It's been quite a while, maybe since December, November. But we saw how, him coming off the bench and really running at those tired legs, just making an impact on the counterattack. He's a really special talent. I know that he's not necessarily the youngest at 25 and going to turn 26 next month. But, what have you made of Pepe? Do you feel like he deserves a spot in Porto's strongest 11?
I think so, but I think the issue with Pepe, is Pepe, right? This is Pepe, right?
Yeah.
With Pepe, is that when he commits so many mistakes in the midfield, in the core of the engine room for Porto, because there's no doubt that his skill with the ball are just impressive, but he's lacking, I think, that commitment when it comes to the defensive aspect of his position, because Sergio Conceição demands everybody to be 100% focused on the pitch, and he's lacking that. Sometimes he's spaced out from the game. Sometimes I'm calling games and he's like, well, where's Pepe? Where's Pepe? Oh, he's right there. I thought he was taking lunch or something, And that's the I think that's the main issue with Pepe, and that's why he's not a starter for Porto.
Absolutely. One player who I was a bit surprised wasn't a starter for this match was Ibrahima Bamba. Came on in the 52nd minute. But I want to talk a little bit about Bamba, because for me, he has been one of the breakout stars of this Primera Liga campaign. 20 years of age, born in Italy to Ivorian parents. And for those of you who don't watch Vitoria on a regular basis, I want you to take a look at our recent article on BreakingTheLines.com by Lebohang Mwamuka. He wrote a phenomenal piece on Bamba and just how good of a talent he is. Just a little brief snippet of the article. Despite his slender frame, he's a very high-volume ball winner and approaches duels fearlessly against bigger and stronger opponents. His IQ and tenacity allow him to gain advantages in most situations, and he ranks amongst the very best players in Europe defensively. So in the 99th percentile for tackles, in the 99th for tackles won, 99th for passes blocked. This is a player who I think made a handful of appearances in the second half of last season. Got called up to Roberto Mancini's 53-man Italy training camp and was able to really carry that momentum into this season where he's stood out in the middle of a back three. I think he's a defensive midfielder by trade, but has really taken to that libero role, shall we say, that middle of the back three role, like a duck to water. He's a player who I think stands out more than just his physicality, which I think he needs to work on. I think he does need to bulk up a little bit. I think that he's a player who stands out for what's right here, right? His intelligence, his confidence on the ball, his confidence to bring the ball out from the back, dribble it, and find the right man with his passing, as well as his anticipation, his reading of the game. This is a very intelligent 20-year-old footballer, and I really do feel like we could be talking about a player who is playing for one of the biggest clubs in Europe one of these days, one day, and a player who potentially could win a starting spot in the Azores, strongest team. I know that we need to hold our horses a little bit, but this is a really special talent, and Vitoria de Guimarães do have a history of exporting big name talents, developing them, polishing these raw gems, and selling them, right? We've seen that with Marcus Edwards, selling him to Sporting. We've seen that with Edmund Tapsoba, seen that with Rafinha, quite a few players. So talk to me, how good is Bamba, and what do you think are his biggest assets? What do you think he needs to work on in order to get that big move?
You mentioned something in your explanation, and I think that's one of the talking points of Bamba is finding the right man, especially on his own half. Because I was just looking through his stats, and he has a 91% of efficiency when passing in his own half, which is crucial. It's crucial for a center back, because you can lose the ball 50, 60 yards away from your goal, but when you cover your half with that efficiency, it's just remarkable for Bamba. And I loved him because he's so smart, and that's why he's. When you say about the physicality, with players like that are just that smart, they don't need that. They don't need the extra muscle to make the defensive plays, because to defend it's an art too. They can be an artist when defending. You have to be the Terminator like Pepe. You have to be Sergio Ramos. You can be more elegant and more efficient, and that's with the category that Bamba fits. I'm gonna make a parallel miles of distance, but I'm seeing Maldini. Okay, that kind of defender. That the defender is not that physical, and also with Nesta, there were these two Italian gods of the defense. They were not that strong. They were not that imposing. They didn't have imposing physiques, no, but they were efficient. They were elegant, and the key for them is their anticipation. How they read the plays, how they read positions, how they position themselves when they don't have the ball, and I think that's crucial from Bamba. And there's some players that I say that they need to pack 10 pounds of muscle. He's going to make a difference. I think it's going to be the case with Bamba. Of course, he's still young. He's 20. He can gain some a few more pounds of muscle, but I think it's required for him to shine from his position and from the style of defense that he provides.
Absolutely. Porto, the defending champions, currently 1 point behind Braga and 5 points behind Benfica. A Benfica team that bounced back from that draw against Sporting and, came to the Azores without two key players. So, facing off against Santa Clara in Ponta Delgada without Rafa Silva, who is going to be out due to injury for, I think, the next month, as well as without Nicolas Otamendi, who was out due to suspension. So Saw Felipe Morato playing alongside Antonio Silva in the center of defense. Saw Julian Draxler playing alongside Frederic Arsenis, Joao Mario, and Gonzalo Ramos in attack. And Benfica taking care of things early, opening the scoring in the 9th minute from Arsenis, going up 2-0 from Gonzalo Ramos in the 16th minute, and grabbing a third goal from Gonzalo Getch. So Gonzalo Getch, another one of Benfica's signings. Benfica having a pretty active January transfer window. Obviously, they were active in the summer, but I think that they're saying, you know what, we've got a very good chance of winning the Taça de Portugal, of winning our first league since 2018, 2019. And we've also got a good chance of going far in the Champions League, okay? So whereas Sporting, they're crosstown rivals, they're thinking we're not going to win the title, and there's a good chance we miss out on Champions League football. They're resigned to losing Pedro Porro, so it seems. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. Hopefully he stays. Benfica, they're saying, we've got to put all of our chips in. We've got to go all in. So they've got they brought in two very promising Scandinavian talents, Andreas Schjelderup, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Kasper Tengstedt. So two attacking reinforcements who, I have high expectations for them. With that being said, they're going to need plenty of time to adapt, plenty of time to recover, and I think that they're long-term signings, shall we say. A player who is, by definition, a short-term signing is Gonzalo Getch, though. He came through Benfica's academy and got a move to Paris Saint-Germain. I'll admit, I thought it was a bit too early for him, but, had a brief spell at PSG and then went to Valencia, did very well there, became one of the deadliest wingers in Spain, eventually got a move to Wolves in the summer. Hasn't really worked out for Getch at Molineux, unlike plenty of other Portuguese players. But the arrival of Pablo Sarabia at Wolves made it so that he didn't feel like he was going to get the requisite chances for his development. So he returned to Benfica, and in doing so, became the first graduate of the Benfica campus. Benfica's new state of the art academy, to return to the Estádio da Luz, and marking his debut, his second debut, with a goal. How important do you think Gonzalo Getch is going to be down the line for this Benfica team? Obviously, they're going to be missing Rafa Silva for quite some time. Julian Draxler hasn't really been able to fit in since joining on loan from PSG. David Neres as well, had a strong start to his time at Benfica, but has struggled with injuries and inconsistency. Do you think that Gonzalo Getch could nail down a starting spot?
I hope so. I hope so for Benfica, because without Rafa, they're losing a tremendous player, the MVP of the season so far for Benfica. And if there's one thing that Gonzalo Guedes and Benfica have right now, that is time. There's no time for that. You gotta adapt on the fly. You gotta fit right in, because they cannot drop any more points at the level of aggressiveness that Braga is coming after that first spot. I mean, they just don't have any luxury to drop a single point from now until Rafa returns. And when Rafa returns, it's going to be a different story. They could manage that, but I don't know if Gonzalo Guedes will adapt right away. Of course, having to score in the his first game back, it's just of course it's a tremendous boost of confidence for the winger. But we'll see. We'll see how he develops, how he adapts, and I really hope that he fits right in, sort of kind of like Enzo Fernandez when he arrived to Benfica. That kind of a fit is gotta be good. It's the same as Enzo Fernandez. Came in, he played, he scored, he shined, That's what they need. That's what they need from Gonzalo Guedes. Now, I'm going to point out that if you mentioned this about Guedes, but I want to point out another position for Benfica, and it is the right back position. For me, Alexito Ba haven't been the tremendous wing back that Benfica needs. They've been struggling since Double A. Andre Almeida got injured, and then you got Gilberto. Then they tried also with Diogo. I mean, they've been struggling to fill that position. I mean, he's a starter, but he's not Pedro Porro. You know what I'm saying? He's not Pedro Porro. They need someone of that caliber. I don't think they're gonna go after another right back, but I think that it's a position that is they could make him pay down the road on this second half of the season. Hopefully I'm wrong, but that's how I see it.
I agree with you. I think that right now Ba is the worst right back of the big three. With that being said, I like a lot of what I've seen from Ba. There's a lot that I haven't liked. I do think that he needs to work on a little bit his defensive skill set. Making that adaptation to fighting and winning those 1v1 battles and not getting exposed on the counter. Just a few things. I do feel that Ba solidifying a starting spot, it's almost been kind of a blessing. It's almost been a curse in some ways, because I do think that Gilberto, his competition was definitely having, it definitely had that effect of Ba raising his level, because he knew that Gilberto had a chance of starting. Now it seems that Ba has pretty much won that starting spot over Gilberto. I felt he had a good game at the weekend against Santa Clara, but I totally agree. This is for sure a long-term signing. He does need to improve, because he is starting for them. 25 years of age. He's still got plenty of time ahead of him, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. You mentioned Enzo Fernandez. You mentioned Rafa Silva being the MVP of this Benfica season. I love Rafa a lot. I'm not sure if I'd say he's the MVP, but he's definitely in the running with a lot of players, such as Gonzalo Ramos, such as Nicolas Otamendi, Alex Grimaldo, plenty of players that I can mention, but one player you have to mention is Enzo Fernandez. He was back at his best against Santa Clara with 2 assists, 10 out of 15 long balls completed, 10 out of 13 ground duels won, 5 tackles, 3 out of 3 dribbles completed. This is a player who can do it all. I mean, I'm sorry, he's one of the best midfielders. He's one of the most complete midfielders in football right now. And I think that, obviously there's plenty of time left. There's plenty of time left in the season as well as the January window. There's a good chance, I suppose, that Chelsea, that Todd Bowley could just walk into the Estrelinha Luz and say, you know what, here's 130 million straight up for Enzo. We're taking your best midfielder. Bye-bye. See you later. And they'd be left without him for the second half of the campaign. But if they do keep him, and if they do hang on to the league title, I think that we can, we might be sitting around a few months from now, recording another Cortalinhas, and we'll be reminiscing on this point and thinking to ourselves, you know what? The day that Benfica won the league title was the day that they told Chelsea, to hell with your 80 million, 90 million, whatever. To hell with your bid. We're keeping hold of Enzo for another few months. I think that Enzo, it's clear that he's not going to last more than a season in Portugal. But damn, I'm really glad that it seems at least that he's going to be sticking around for the foreseeable future at the Estado Luz. I mean, is this one of the best midfielders in football right now?
Of course. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. His quality and what is special about him, and it's like he, as I mentioned a few moments ago, he fits right in everywhere. I mean, is he 21? Is he just 21? I think he's 21, right? Or 23? I'm not. I think it's 21. 21.
Enzo Fernandez, let me get that for you right now.
Check that out because I think he's
22. He just turned 22 on January 17th. So
yeah. So he was a world champion at the age of 21, right? Um, every single team that he played on, he just came in, delivered, no questions asked, no excuses, and that's a tremendous asset for a player because players coming to a different league, they need to adapt to the speed, or they need to adapt to the new rules of the new coach or the new system. He doesn't care. He just doesn't care, and that brings a lot to his quality and his capacity, man. His capacity to read the game, to be in the perfect position almost every time. The transitions, he is flawless. He also got a goal. He also can score. He doesn't score. He hasn't scored many goals, but when he does, they're spectacular. They're spectacular. The one against Mexico was just that's just a masterpiece of a goal when he played for Argentina. And he's only 22. I mean, there's a long way to go for this kid, and I am so happy that we got to keep him at least for the second half of the season. And if Benfica wins the title, he is going to have a big piece of that trophy.
Absolutely. Let's transition to Sunday's action. Marítimo taking on Estoril Praia, and they took the lead in the 3rd minute from René Santos, I believe a January arrival, if I'm not mistaken. Went down to 10 men in the 60th minute with João Afonso picking up 2 yellows in quick succession. And yet, Estoril unable to find a goal in Madeira, and Marítimo picking up a win. Marítimo currently 7 points above Passos and 1 point behind Santa Clara in the relegation playoff spot. We were writing off this Marítimo. We were, leaving them for dead, and yet they are somehow, some way getting, they are fighting it out in Funchal. They are not going, they are not going down without a fight, and that's in large part due to the arrival of new manager Jose Gomes. We saw Vasco Seabra sacked as Marítimo manager after 5 games, replaced by João Henriquez. Wasn't really able to stop the bleeding. Jose Gomes takes over, and the first Primera Liga match after the World Cup would see Marítimo drawing to Rio Ave, and following that up with a 1-0 win for Marítimo against Sporting. Fell to a 3-0 defeat to Vizela, but beating Estoril. So Marítimo have picked up more points since December 23rd than they had in the previous 14 games. Okay, Marítimo with a horrific start to the campaign. They are somehow, some way, getting back into it, and I think that this is a team with obviously plenty of history. They're I think the only team apart from Benfica, Porto, Sporting, and Braga, the only team in Portugal that regularly has at least, I think, over 50% attendance in their stadiums. They've got a incredibly loyal fan base. They're a team that's been playing in the top flight since for every season since 1985, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a historic club in Portugal, and I think that a lot of these players are starting to recognize that, and we are seeing a Marítimo that looks new, that looks refreshed. So a lot to talk about from this Marítimo side. For you, what have been the biggest keys of this turnaround, and can they maintain that?
Andrew, there's one key here, and they elevate the number of shots per game. They went from they almost double. They almost doubled since the arrival of Jose Gomes. Now they're averaging between 9.5 shots per game since December, and that translates into the results. That translates into results, and we'll see if that they can keep up. But it was one of the main issues for Marichimo, among others, right? It's just the lack of chances that they create per game. This is a team that doesn't create enough chances to make of a game. But now I mean, of course, now you have the you have the relegation sounding in the back of your head, and it's like you gotta fight, we gotta fight, we gotta fight. And then I think Jose Gomez was able to I don't know, in a way to make them feel that they can turn the season around. And I think what happened here is that this team believes in their coach, and because Joan Enriquez, when he came in, I mean, he's like, oh, he's the savior, you know. This is a guy that resuscitates teams in the Premier League, the save them for relegation. It was more of the cartel that Joan Enriquez brought to Maritimo, more than the actual input that he had on the team. And that impact with Jose Gomez is translating into games. But yes, definitely they're pulling the trigger way more often than they used to. And I believe that it could be possible. It could be possible that they can be saved from relegation at the end of the season. I didn't think it was possible a month ago, but now the numbers are there, and if they keep racking points, I think they can leave the bottom three in the next month, I would say.
You know, Nino, I know you are Peruvian, correct?
Yes, I was gonna say that.
I know you love shouting out your gente, your Latino folks. You talked about what Ignacio de Undara Buena. Sorry if I butchered that name again. Enzo Fernandez. A lot of great Latino players in Portugal. One player who I think could be in the conversation for one of the breakout stars of the league has been doing fairly well, and started in central defense alongside the goal scorer Rene Santos. This is Moises Mosquera, 21 years of age, from Colombia, and has pretty much gone from barely playing at all for Maritimo, was mainly used with the B team, played just twice for Maritimo prior to this season, but has gone from like the fourth or fifth choice center back to a full-fledged starter. I really like his performances. I know that he's just 21, but really, really promising in terms of controlling the width. Coming to the byline and winning 1v1 duels if he needs. The timing of his tackles, the anticipation. This is someone with, I think, the physical skills and the mental skills to boot. I know that Colombia, it's been, they have plenty of talent. I know that they've produced quite a few players who have made a name for themselves in Portugal, such as Freddy Guarin, Jackson Martinez. I could go on and on. I do think that Mosquera could be one of them because you look at their defensive options. Colombia, they don't have that many sure thing guarantees. I know that they've got a few players, Yerimina, Davinson Sanchez, so some good but not great defenders. I'll be honest, I really like what I've seen from Moises Mosquera, and he had a great game against Estrelinha. 5 tackles, 6 clearances, 6 out of 6 ground duels won, 2 out of 2 aerial duels won, and 2 out of 3 long balls completed. Have you gotten the chance to take a look at Mosquera, and what do you think of his potential? If so,
I got a few games for Maritimo, and I think he provides what Maritimo needs right now, which is I'm gone. Zach, you still there? Then we're still recording. I don't see you, but yeah, okay. I think he's a right fit for Maritimo. He's very calm. He's not for his age. He doesn't risk many plays for Maritimo, and I think he's gonna be a great asset for a team that is strong to avoid relegation this season.
Yeah, 100%. Will be very interesting to see what happens with this Marítimo side. They're going to be taking on Porto next up. But, you know, can Marítimo stay up? They're a historic club. They've had a very tough start to the season. But, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Estoril Praia, on the other hand, yeah, it's been a rough run of form for them. They are currently just 5 points above the relegation playoff spot, and they did beat Casapia the previous week, which I think will definitely give them some leeway. But since October 7th, they have won just one match in the league. That match against Casapia, and they've only drawn once since then against Portimonense. So, bit of a shaky run for them. I really hope that they can get it together. They're going to be taking on Famalicão before hosting Vitoria and Boavista. So, will be interesting to see what happens. Is this just a shaky run of form, or is this going to be the story of their second half of the season? Will be very interesting to see what happens with the men from Gaish. And moving on to some other matches that we saw this weekend, I want to mention I want to mention another team that I think have had kind of a hot and cold few months. Gil Vicente. Gil Vicente last season had the best season in club history for the first time ever, qualifying for Europe, finishing 5th, and yet we're forced to lose quite a few key players, such as Pedrinho, who was the midfield maestro going to Turkey. Plenty of other players, Samuel Lino going to Atletico Madrid before being loaned out to Valencia. Zé Carlos, for me, one of the best right backs in Portugal, heading back from his loan, heading back to Braga, and being loaned out to the Spanish second tier in Ibiza. I'll be honest, I didn't really understand that move, but apparently he wanted to spend some time in Ibiza. Now he's back at Gil Vicente after failing to solidify a starting spot there. Will be interesting to see what happens there. I think that right back is definitely an area that they've been lacking in quality this season. Can Zé Carlos, pick up where he left off? But Gil Vicente, they have had a few managerial changes, and they are certainly riding a strong run of form under their new manager, Daniel Sousa. So Daniel Sousa taking charge in November, replacing Ivo Vieira, who joined in the summer to take over at the helm, but has led them to a strong resumption since the World Cup break. So Gil Vicente beating Santa Clara 1-0, losing 1-0 at Boavista, and beating Vitoria and Casapia. Beating Casapia 3-1. That is an absolutely massive win against the Casapia side that has been, one of the breakout stars, obviously. Been defensively stable and scoring 3 goals against them. That's, a fantastic job from this Gil team. And it seems like just like we've seen with Marítimo, there is some life left in this Gil team. It's, I think that Gil Vicente, this could potentially be a turning point, this victory against Casapia. Fran Navarro scores a brace, and Vitor Carvalho chips in with another goal. Just the second time this season that Casapia have conceded over 1 goal at home. Gil Vicente have as many points in their last 4 games as they had in their first 13. What have been the biggest reasons for their turnaround under Daniel Sousa?
Their defensive line has been make a tremendous upgrade on the last month, and you've seen the victories. They're not conceding goals. They got 1-0 victories here, and of course this tremendous comeback over Casapia. I think the issue is with Gil Vicente is someone else needs to score, okay? Because Frank Navarro scores 65% of the goals for Gil Vicente this season. 65%. It's just that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous number. But Ali Puri is stepping up. Murillo is making contributions. But I think they need to diversify the risk. That's what they need to do. If they manage to diversify the angles of the shots, of the angles of their attacking options on the front court, and then take a little bit of the weight off Frank Navarro when it comes to finish the plays, I think it's gonna be the key aspect for Gil Vicente to survive. And now we were mentioning Estoril before, and I think that's the team that is going to be taking the spot of Marichimo at the bottom three. Out of these 4 teams that are on top, that are talking about Famalicão, Gil Vicente, Estoril, and I think I'm missing another one. What's the other one that is on the? Let me see. What's the other one here?
In the relegation.
Portimonense. Yeah, Fama, Gil Vicente, Estoril, and Portimonense. Those are the teams that are close. They're close to the bottom 3, because let me tell you, 5 points is nothing. 5 points is nothing from being away from relegation. So I think that's the team that is going to end up on the bottom 3, and Marichimo will be saved. That's my prediction.
Just confirmation, Nino. Your 2 teams that are going down, and the team that is going to the relegation playoff. Who are they going to be again?
Asos, Estoril, and Santa Clara under playoff.
Wow, you're saying Estoril are going to be in the bottom 2. That's yikes. The way things are going right now, I actually don't think that's that crazy of a shout. I'm gonna say Pasos finish bottom, and I'm gonna go with Santa Clara in the second position. I just think they've been very poor. And then I am going to go with, you might think I'm crazy. I'm actually going to go with Portimonense. I think that, they were, I'm going to go with Portimonense in the relegation playoffs. I think that they were one of the worst teams in the league over the second half of last season. But their strong start saved them. I'm not so sure if it's going to save them this time around. But we'll see what happens. The issue, as you mentioned, the issue with Gil Vicente is nobody else besides Fran Navarro is scoring. The issue with Rio Ave is nobody is scoring. So Rio Ave entered the World Cup as the biggest expected goals overperformers in not just Portugal, but Europe as well. Consistently overperforming their XG. Since they've returned from the World Cup, they've drawn 1-1 to Marichimo at home, drawn 0-0 to Vitoria, lost 1-0 to Pasos de Ferreira, the first win for Pasos since April, and drawn 0-0 at Famalicão. Santiago Colombato having a late penalty saved by Rio Ave goalkeeper Jonathan chipping in a very good performance with 5 saves. And Rio Ave, could we be concerned with them at all? 0 goals since the resumption, just 1 goal since the resumption of play following the World Cup. 10th in the league, so just still 7 points clear of the relegation playoff spot. Are you concerned at all by this little blip in form from Luis Ferreira's side?
I mean, the positive takeout out of this non-scoring for Rio Ave is that they don't concede either. There's one thing that you cannot score, but if you don't let the opponent to score, that gives you at least a point per game that you can count on, and that's the difference between Rio Ave and the bottom, not the bottom 3, but the bottom 3 on top of the bottom three, I should say, right? I'm talking about Famalicão and recently that if they concede, they're done. Not with Rio Ave. It's so hard. It's hard. It's difficult. It's so. You got to grind a lot to score on Rio Ave. They might not be exciting. They're not playing exciting soccer, but they're gonna survive on this Primera Liga. That's they're playing in survival mode. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Casapia with a fantastic start to the season. Rio Ave in the mid-table positions in 10th place and just 1 point behind fellow promoted side Chaves, who drew 1-1 at the weekend to Boavista. They've been another, I think, similarly to Rio Ave. Chaves, they've kept things close. Where even if they're the inferior team, they'll still only have conceded just one goal. They'll be able to, snatch a late equalizer. We saw that at the weekend, going, between Boavista and Chaves. Boavista taking the lead in the 27th minute from Yusufa Nje, and Chaves equalizing in the 88th minute from João Batista, Brazilian striker who scored his first league goal in the Portuguese top flight. I'm curious, just what have you made of Chaves so far in their return to the top flight?
They were impressive of the first 2 months, but then they started to fade away from the performances that they deliver in that first stages of the competition. I think that they're struggling. I think that I don't know. I don't think that anyone is safe from relegation from that. Those 4 teams that are above the bottom 3, and I don't think that Chaves. I don't think they're gonna be relegated. I don't think there's gonna be a one and done. No, but and especially when they playing at home. When they're playing at home, they protect their home advantage, and that's what's gonna keep them in the top flight.
Last question, Nino. I want to know who is winning the title, who is finishing as the top scorer, and who are going to take the European positions in order.
I think that Benfica is going to ruin the chance. I don't think they're going to ruin the chance for much. As Braga can play from I think Benfica is going to win. I think that Benfica is going to win, and second is going to be Braga. Third, Porto. Casapia, Aruca, and Sporting.
Sporting. Are you are saying Sporting 6th place?
Yes. I'm saying this today.
Those are fighting with pride. You had it here, folks. I am going to go with Benfica first, Porto second, Braga third, Sporting fourth, Casapia fifth, and as much as I like this Arauca team, I think that Vitoria are going to get back into the conversation. Vitoria de Guimarães, baby, the Conquistadores, onde nasceu Portugal. We'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, what was that, Nino?
I forgot the strikers, right? Did you mention the strikers too? Right?
Right. We forgot to mention the top scorer. Who's going to finish as the top scorer, Nino?
The thing is, I really want Fran Navarro to be top scorer, but I think Gonzalo Ramos is going to take it.
You think Gonzalo Ramos is going to take it? Interesting. Yeah. Those I'm split between those two. I think that you can never write off Mehdi Taremi. He has that quality, he has that ability to get back into it. But I think I'm gonna go with Gonzalo Ramos as well. Looking back at the recent top scorers in Portugal, only a few players outside of Porto, Benfica, and Sporting have actually won the Bola de Prata Mehdi Taremi in 2019-20, while he was playing for Rio Ave, he finished level with Carlos Vinicius and PZ for the Bola de Prata. I believe it was Vinicius who won the award because of having played fewer minutes, but that was still an impressive achievement nonetheless. We've seen that from other players such as Lima for Braga in 2011-12, Nene for Nacional in 2008, 2009, Albert Mayong in 2005-06 for Belenenses, and Fari Faye, the Senegalese striker for Beira-Mar. Wow, what a blast from the past that is! Just 20 years ago. So there have been a few examples of players outside of the big three winning the Bola de Prata. Not too many. I really hope that Fran Navarro does win the Bola de Prata, because I think it would finally give him the recognition that he's been missing. He's a fantastic striker who for me has earned himself a big move, whether that's to Sporting, to Porto, to another European club. I don't know. He's a fantastic striker though, and I'm gonna go with Gonzalo Ramos though.
Gonzalo Ramos. All right. And on that top scorer category, I want to mention this. I think it's that this is my prediction that all these three players, Navarro, Ramos, and Taremi, all three, they're gonna break the 20 goal mark. All three. That's my prediction. I don't know I want Fran Navarro to win it. I think Gonzalo's gonna get it, but I think these three are gonna break the 20 goal mark this season.
Interesting. I'm gonna say Ramos, Navarro. I'm gonna say Ramos and Navarro break it. Taremi, I don't think he gets to 20 goals, but I think he's going to finish as the top assister, as well as get close to the 20 goal mark. We'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to my phenomenal discussion with Nino Torres, one of the best voices on here for Portuguese football. Nino, real quick, shout out whatever you need to shout out, plug whatever you need to plug. This is your time, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Zach. It was just a fantastic conversation about this Primera Liga that I fell in love. This is my fourth season calling the league and at GolTV, and hopefully many more seasons to come with the Primera Liga. Obrigado, everybody.
Obrigado.